This episode is brought to you by Galileo FX, the world's top trading bot. Galileo uses advanced algorithms and customizable strategies to enhance efficiency, reduce errors, and operate 24/7, providing a significant advantage over traditional manual trading. Go to GalileoFX.com to learn how you can start automating your trades today. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Today, we have on another exciting guest, Theo, Director of Web3 for Gunzilla Games, here to talk about how they're an innovative game developer merging Web3 with gaming, what that means, their upcoming titles, and what their Gunzilla ecosystem looks like. Theo, welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you on today. How's it going?
Thanks so much. Doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Awesome. To get things started, I'm sure people would love to learn a little bit more about yourself and your backstory, and maybe what kind of sparked that interest in both gaming and also some of the Web3 side of it too.
Sure. So, number one, I've been playing video games since the Commodore 64, so I'm carbon dating myself here a little bit. But in terms of my professional career, I started my first company in 1998, an IT technology company, bootstrapped over a dozen IT technology companies. Since then, got involved in Bitcoin and blockchain technology in 2012, so fairly early on, and then joined Gunzilla late 2021, and we've been with Gunzilla now for 3 years. Last year, formalizing that to become the director of Web3 at the company.
Excellent. And then how would you sum up Gunzilla in terms of what you guys are trying to accomplish, maybe your core mission, and what makes Gunzilla different than other independent AAA developers out there?
Sure thing. So I'll start by saying what blew me away, and the reason I went from building my own companies to joining someone else's company, and that is the ability to revolutionize gaming in both Web 2 and Web 3. We've already done it in Web 3, and we're well on our way to doing it in Web 2 as well. Specifically, what do I mean by that? There is currently no other Web 2 company out there, or gaming company out there, that has a peer-to-peer marketplace on Xbox and PlayStation. One. Two, there is no other Web3 game out there in existence that has an actual blockchain-enabled game on PlayStation and Xbox. So we're well on our way, to complete our mission, or at least what my mission here is, and that is to revolutionize these two industries. But I was blown away right from the start. When I joined, it was already 100 people. The founders had put in $15 million of their own capital to build the initial prototype. They had onboarded Neil Blomkamp as a co-founder. He's the film director behind District 9, Chappie, Elysium with Matt Damon, and a couple of years ago he did Gran Turismo with Orlando Bloom. So absolutely incredible visionary. Richard Morgan was already on board. He's the author of Altered Carbon, which was turned into an award-winning Netflix show by the same name. And so the team blew me away. The mission blew me away. The concepts and ideas that I firmly believed somebody should work on, but nobody ever had, blew me away. I always like telling a little anecdotal story out of my own life, and that is I have two older boys, and when they were a little bit younger, in their teenage years, they played Fortnite extensively, and we actually would load in as a whole family. So my wife and I and our two boys would load in as a Fortnite squad. So for a couple of years, that was a fairly important tradition for us. And as a result of that, they had accumulated, several thousands of dollars of skins that they had purchased within Fortnite, and all of that from hard-earned summer jobs and Christmas money from parents and grandparents, etc. Eventually, inevitably, they wanted to move on to a different game, and they came to me, or my oldest came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, so how do I get my money back?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, I own all of these items, right? I bought them." And so we got into what a EULA is, and that you don't really own anything, and you're really just renting it. And he was shocked, right? For kids these days, digital asset ownership is the most natural thing in the world. They want digital clothes for their birthday instead of real world clothes. Like, that is everything to them. And for them to be this shocked about, well, why don't I really own it, was very eye-opening for me. And back then, this was like 2017 18, back then we didn't have all these technologies that we have now to make all this stuff possible. But anyway, to me, I believe that in the future, gamers will demand from gaming companies that I need to be able to own this stuff. If I want to move on to a different game, I should be allowed to monetize all this playing time that I've spent, plus the money that I invested, to at least get my money out. If not, make some profit from all the early gaming time that I put into this game or project. So that is, to me, something that is very, very kind of near and dear to my heart, due to my personal life as well. But I also believe it's the right thing, and the path forward has to include asset ownership for gamers.
Absolutely. I can relate to that 100%. I grew up playing Halo and Call of Duty, and I can't tell you how much money I milked out of my parents to buy skins and DLC packs, characters, weapon modifications, like all kinds of things. And it just like baffled me as a child that like that wouldn't carry over to the next Halo game, the next Call of Duty game, or the next multiplayer experience. And it really does suck. It's so much value that's just kind of like thrown in the trash. And I imagine that is like the main thing you guys want to revolutionize is the digital aspect part of gaming, right? Being able to take those things and make those transferable, compatible with next gen games and whatnot, building out an ecosystem for that.
Absolutely, 100%. That's what we would call the way we approach it is play to own, right? We had a lot of the play to earn, which obviously was very unsustainable over the years, but we kind of championed the concept of play to own. You're playing really for fun, not to earn anything, right? You're playing for fun. That's the bottom line, right? We have to, as a gaming studio, deliver an engaging and entertaining and awesome experience, but you do get a result of that gaming time as well, which is you own all of your own assets.
I want to ask you about your flagship game because I think that's probably a good entryway into talking about the GUNZ ecosystem and blockchain. And your flagship game is called Off the Grid OTG, right? It's like a Battle Royale style game. Is that something that's still in development, that's coming soon, or what can you tell us?
Sure. So first of all, we call it the Battle Royale 2.0 experience because we took and innovated on top of what's currently out there with one very, very unique thing, and that is 60 hours of storyline on both sides of the conflict. There currently is no Battle Royale game out there where you can actually play a story in the middle of the Battle Royale. That's one. Two, we have, of course, the ability for you not only to own your own assets, but there's a marketplace where you can sell and buy assets. And yes, it's the flagship product of, as you correctly said, GUNZ, which is the world's first AAA Web3 gaming ecosystem. In terms of where Off the Grid is at currently, we launched early access last October, October the 8th, on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, etc., and onboarded most of them since then, over 15 million unique wallets, resulting in over 500 million total transactions, and have been on a regular basis updating the early access, as we call it, release with new locations on the map, with new content, and so on and so forth. That's where the game is at currently. It is currently deployed on these platforms and actively being played and actively being updated on a regular basis. We also have all these surrounding components that enhance your experience. That is a GUNZ wallet that has been also operational for a while on iOS and Android. We have a visual blockchain scanner. We have, of course, the NFT marketplace within the game itself on consoles, but also we have a marketplace available on the web. It's also available in the GUNZ wallet. We have our NFT minting engine that cranks out the actual items that are minted for the players as they're extracting them. We have a companion app that is already also built and utilized by gamers where you can see all of your stats, find people and friends to play with, has a nice little timeline so you can do your posts as a chat function. And then we also have a companion game called Technocore, which is a mobile drone flying version simulator where you can actually find parts of items and then combine them into one item, which eventually we will allow people to transfer also into the off the grid game.
This is interesting. I don't think I've heard about this before, and especially for a game to be on Xbox and PlayStation, how do you guys kind of integrate that digital asset ownership element for a player with a console? Like, do you tie together like their profiles through the PlayStation Network and Xbox, or do you do it in a different way?
So there's a lot of kind of secret sauce here that we don't really talk about. But the bottom line is that a person on an Xbox can extract an item from within the game, and if they have their OTG Pro Battle Pass kind of subscription, then they are also allowed to list that item and sell that item on the in-game marketplace. And if you do not have a subscription, you can still interact with the marketplace, but you're only able to purchase, you're not able to sell. And that is the same on all three platforms. Also, speaking of three platforms, we have this coming Thursday on the 24th. We just announced that we will finally have cross-platform invites. One of the most requested features that players had was to be able to invite their friends that play on a different platform. So that is all coming finally this Thursday. and people will be able to play together on squads from different platforms.
Exciting. And then how does the GUNZ blockchain kind of factor into promoting this gamer first ecosystem that you guys are building? Like what's kind of the core functionality of it?
Sure. When we first set out to build the game, we right from the start knew that we had to provide a gamer first experience, which means that all of the blockchain components have to be transparently kind of obfuscated and put into the background so that the user never has to interact with them directly. So in our ecosystem, you never need to set up a wallet. You never need to swap any tokens. You never need to on off ramp any fiat. All of that gets taken care of for you transparently in the background. In order for us to build an experience like that, we had to have our own blockchain. In order for us to build an experience like that, we had to have our own wallet, marketplace, components, etc. So we ended up building all of this out to support our flagship product off the grid. But in the course of doing that, we realized that what we've in essence built is the world's first AAA Web3 gaming ecosystem. So we started working on an SDK and APIs, and we will allow other Web3 and Web2 gaming companies to white label all of these components and focus just on their core expertise, which is a game, and let GUNZ take care of all of the other aspects of providing these very unique and useful tools and features to to handle the blockchain component of it.
What do these in-game assets kind of look like for you? It could be related to OTG or it could be more expansive than that because I'm sure you'll have other games, that are coming at some point too. But what do you imagine those in-game assets kind of encompassing that I imagine would be able to be traded and resold at some point as well? Maybe put up on a marketplace. Kind of curious how you envision that forward.
So there's several things here. Number one, in terms of what these assets are, everything in our game, literally everything, is ultimately an asset that the user can own, trade, sell, etc. These include not only cosmetics, but the actual items themselves as well. So all the weapons, your limbs, because we have this concept of cyber limbs where you can have replaceable limbs. One limb could be a grenade launcher, another limb could be an energy shield, another limb could be a katana, etc. And these limbs have various different, rarities from common to epic. Depending on the rarity, they have, faster cooldown or some other interesting enhancements. And we have legs, same thing. There's multiple different types of legs. You can literally shoot somebody's legs off, run over, swap out your own legs with their legs if you like their legs better. Makes for some really, really fun situations, a very great kind of memeable content. And it includes every single cosmetic, of course, as well. Body part, body modification, beards, glasses, goggles, jetpacks, weapons, weapon skins, weapon attachments, silences, suppressors, barrel stocks, etc., drum magazines. And so these items are all tradable then on chain. And they, of course, also become part of your inventory once you own them, which means that you can then use them in a loadout and equip your player with that within a gaming session. I might add that every single player lands the same on the island initially, right? With a starter pistol and starter limbs. And then you can loot those very same items from loot boxes as well. Or you can run around, collect as much cash as possible to call in your loadout with your preferred limbs and preferred setup and preferred cosmetics. So that is how kind of the items are defined. To come to the second part of the question, how can you trade them? Where can you trade them? We have announced that we are natively integrated into OpenSea. So you will be able to take your items out of the game and actually trade them on a third-party marketplace, take full custody of them, trade them on a third-party marketplace. And we're also fully integrated into Fireblocks, which is like this institutional grade storage for tokens, NFTs. We're fully compatible, integrated into that as well as layer 0 for kind of cross-chain compatibility.
Okay, cool. And OTG is kind of like a cyberpunk-esque battle royale, right? So like I
Yeah,
imagine you can modify probably everything about your character at some point.
pretty much. That's right.
What about the ability for mods maybe to get involved? Like can you create your own digital asset that's maybe compatible with the game like as a third party and maybe introduce that or pass that through Gunzilla to get approved at some point?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to that. Number one, we have also emotes in our system, which are your dances and people expressing themselves. They come usually with content packs and in some other ways as well. And we just introduced our battle DJ, which means that there's also now music in the game. The music can be also owned, so also an NFT. And you can probably imagine that within that concept, we can expand into UGC quite significantly. We have not announced anything yet, but we fully understand how important UGC is these days. And that is something that we're very, very actively looking at.
Yeah, that's interesting. It is really popular these days. And I imagine there's probably a lot of partnerships that could come out of this too, some collaborations, maybe with other companies that maybe want to sponsor a modification or a digital asset in the game. Like, is that something you guys also kind of pursue, like a different line of, cooperation?
So, as you might have seen, we actually have already dropped an OpenSea t-shirt and weapon. Initially, it was dropped just to the 60 plus participants of our first in real life tournament in Vegas. And in addition to that, you might have seen that this month's content pack is actually inspired by the Bored Apes. We had a really fun trailer that we launched around that as well. We had some actual, in collaboration with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, we had some actual Bored Apes hidden on the island. We had a whole event where people had to find them, dance in front of them, film themselves dancing in front of them, and we then raffled off a fun April Fool's surprise mask. Everybody that logged in on April 1st got a paper version of the mask, even people that were not subscribed to OTG Pro. If you logged in, played what game, you earned that mask. And then the event revolved around 199 golden versions of that mask and tied in with Bored Apes, etc. So yeah, we absolutely envision ourselves doing some fun brand collaborations. We obviously are fairly kind of edgy. We have a very, edgy tone and then parodies within the game. So it's not conducive to just any brand out there, but there's definitely really cool brands out there that like, Bored Apes and OpenSea, where we already have done these collaborations, and we will absolutely do more of those.
Do you plan to maybe get OTG involved with any like tournaments or gaming conventions or anything where maybe they can kind of compete or do something that's like kind of promotional?
So we already had our All Stars tournament where we had top streamers worldwide compete for a total prize pool of $600,000. That was very, very well received. We also had some people from within our community actually be recruited by those top streamers, and some of our community members won some seriously, large rewards as well from that in their participation. We also had our Clash for Cash tournament, which was a $3,000 a day tournament that we ran for a couple of months. We just took it offline to rework it and relaunch it, in the near future. So yes, that is absolutely a very important aspect of our game, and our game lends itself very, very well to competitive play.
Are you guys working on any other titles as well, or are you guys primarily focused on OTG, or what's kind of the timeline look like on that, if so?
Sure. So we ourselves are definitely focused very, very much on the full blown release of OTG, which includes a 150-person battle royale with a 60 hours of storyline on both sides of the conflict. We have other game modes that we're working on. We just released fairly recently solo mode, which is a very highly requested game mode that people wanted. We started just now expanding it to more hours. Of course, the next logical step will be to go full time with solo mode. There's other game modes we're looking into as well. Deploying based on user demand and preferences. We're working on ranked mode, which will allow our very, very top players to engage in an experience, without ruining necessarily the experience that beginners have. So there's a lot of things in the works around OTG. In terms of other games, we will really be focusing more on GUNZ onboarding other games that will get integrated into the GUNZ ecosystem, and so on and so forth. So we are primarily focused on off the grid.
I want to ask you a high level question too about kind of the future of gaming here, since you guys are really kind of pushing the direction here. And with Web3, there's a lot that's going on in the space. And I feel like gaming is one of those few industries that has evolved very, very rapidly over a relatively short period of time. And today we're seeing companies like Microsoft, Bethesda, NVIDIA working on all kinds of things, from AI NPCs to generative gameplay and environments to crypto elements as well. Curious how you envision, the future of gaming down the line, another 5 years or so, and are we going to see more integrations with blockchain, with AI, with VR? Someone that's working in the space and developing and sees that kind of pace and where it's going? Like, what do you imagine that future looking like?
I have several opinions about that. Number one, I love what is happening with AI in the sense that seeing, I think they call it AI Buddy in PUBG, seeing the ability to tell your squad, teammate, hey, go and find me some, 9 millimeter ammo for my pistol, and that AI runs off and goes looking for it. That's a really cool thought. Number one. Number two, AR, VR, I think are getting to a point where I think they will become viable for AAA gaming experiences, right? Because you're talking about needing very, very high fidelity for that. You need much, much, much more powerful chips, etc. But over the next decade, I can see a future where you, similar to Minority Report style, right? You have your window, your main window where you're playing your main game, and then you just swipe it to go into your mobile device, and your mobile device, projects out through goggles you're wearing, projects out, an AR kind of environment with augmented reality interacting with the game components. And then, you go sit on your couch and you have your VR goggles that you pop on, and you continue play basically within that same game, multiple different kind of game modes that lend themselves better to VR, AR, or a more traditional, flat panel experience. So yeah, it's I think a very, very exciting future, and I'm excited to see how technology is evolving in that regard. And yeah, hopefully over the next 10 years, we'll see a lot of that stuff come to fruition.
Do you imagine Gunzilla maybe getting into some of those other areas of tech as well to improve future titles like AI, like VR, AR?
I think in general, right, you've seen Gunzilla always push the envelope on whatever is, out there. So it wasn't enough to just build a AAA, gaming VR Battle Royale experience. We had to push, to a Battle Royale 2.0 experience, and create something and innovate in areas that, weren't innovated in yet. That's one. Two, we did the same, with regards to blockchain technology, now a very complex and advanced in-game item minting engine. So of course, any new technology that comes along and gets sufficiently adopted and sufficiently powerful, we will absolutely look into exploring, integrations into our ecosystem.
And then I should have asked this earlier, but do you know the origin behind the name Gunzilla? Because the first time I heard it, I was like, that is such a cool name. It's like Godzilla with guns.
Exactly. So there is actually a funny backstory to it, and that is the founder always thought, how cool would it be if Godzilla actually had guns? and I believe it was actually Neil Blomkamp, kind of collaborated with Vlad to create this really, really sick looking, visual of Godzilla with guns and some I think some cybernetic type of enhancements. And I saw the picture, I was blown away. It's so cool. So I think that is where actually then the name came from, right? It is exactly that, Godzilla with guns.
Yeah, it's a very badass name. Could that be a game at some point? Is that something you guys have ever pondered, or is it just
I think with how much of a genius our founder Vlad is, I'm sure that every single permutation of everything was already considered and pondered in his head. But we of course are very, very focused on finishing everything first and bringing the full off the grid experience to our audience, and then we'll look at expanding that and other things.
absolutely? So, what's on the horizon for Gunzilla the rest of this year? I know you guys are focused on OTG. Did you give a date for that earlier? I can't remember.
We launched, as I mentioned, early access last October. For right now, the next big update is coming this coming Thursday, April 24th, where we have one of the most requested features launching, which is the cross-play, cross-platform invites, and being able to create a squad and invite people from different platforms, as well as a number of other kind of upgrades that are making it into this update. We have a schedule of like every 2 months we launch a very large update, and then every couple of weeks we launch a smaller update, and then every week we might have some little hot patches and bug fixes happening, or some smaller stuff going out. So that's what the rest of the year will look like, right, on a continuous basis, kind of grinding away and adding more. In addition to that, we have our battle pass that usually is monthly, but this month actually we launched a 2 week battle pass because we got something really, really cool planned for next month that is more intricately tied into the lore of Teardrop Island. And in addition to that, every month we have a content pack that drops. So this month it's the ape reel, right? Apes. We have two apes, the pro NFT and the anti NFT ape. Before that, we had Scump, a famous streamer. Before that, we have our Christmas pack. Prior to that, we had our super hilarious parody red versus blue, during the election season in the US. Prior to that, it was Ninja. So yeah, we have this regular kind of content pack release every month, battle pass, and yeah, that's what we're focusing on with regards to off the grid. And Gunzilla, like I said, we are focusing on bringing other projects onto GUNZ, which will include, of course, games, but also projects that are complementary to games.
And then where can people go to learn more about Gunzilla and to keep up with all these developments that are coming out? Is the best place to do that? And then socials, website. Do you guys have a blog?
So to play the game, the best thing to do is to go to playoffthegrid.com, and from there you'll find all the links to all the different platforms. To keep up with our updates, you can go to at playoffthegrid on X, or to at Gun by GunZ on X for our GunZ ecosystem. And that's where we post all of our updates. In addition to that, I might add that our game, while being primarily deployed to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, is also fully integrated into the NVIDIA GeForce Now cloud GPU rendering program. And there you can play our game at high fidelity on your mobile phone, on iPads, on older PCs, on Macintosh computers, as well as even TVs.
Excellent. And do you guys have a community as well? Discord, Telegram?
For both GunZ and Off the Grid, we have Discord communities, and those links are, of course, on our socials and on our website.
Awesome. We'll put all the links in the description for the episode below so people can easily find all that stuff. Theo, this has been a really good conversation and really enjoyed learning about what you guys are doing with Gunzilla. I think it's awesome that you guys are putting such a focus on the digital assets aspect of it. Again, as someone that has played a lot of games growing up and still plays here frequently, it's always been frustrating not to, be able to take that value that you're putting into a game, have it transfer, have it resold, have it compatible with a different title or different version of the same title. So I think it's going to open up a lot of interesting possibilities and ownership for players. So thank you for all the hard work you do with that, and keep me up to date as everything continues to roll out. And let's do a part two sometime here in the near future as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.